What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego back with some more boxing. Now, sometimes I deal with YouTube users and they're just clowns. I don't know if you guys don't watch the video or you hate the title, but some of you get in here in these videos I do and you're so biased or radical, or you start arguing shit that I wasn't even saying. So I was talking about Adrian Broner and the immediate rematch situation with Broner-Maidana. In the video, my overall message was very clear, at least I thought. However, you get people who they start arguing stuff you weren't arguing for. I never once in the video said Adrian Broner deserves an immediate rematch. I specifically said Broner-Maidana is in the driver's seat. It's his option. I said Broner got beat in virtually every round, in my opinion. It was a dominant performance by Broner-Maidana. Paulie Malignaggi also put his 2 cents. I also let you know that Paulie Malignaggi, of course, there's some tension with Broner in general. He's always looked at Broner as being overrated, somebody who hasn't fought anybody. Then he fought him himself, and that was a split decision. So basically, the guy's harboring feelings for him, right or wrong. There's bad blood there with that whole topic. And you could tell after Maidana beat him, Paulie Malignaggi was just really cold and callous. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I mean, it's his prerogative. He can act how he wants. But he was just like, basically kind of like, told you he was overrated. Anyway, people take that and run with it, start saying all kinds of extra stuff. But when I make these videos, I pay attention to what I say. And some people try to infer or guess what I'm thinking and run with all kinds of topics. Fact of the matter is this. One of the main messages of that video was the fact that, like it or not, you can kick, you can scream, you could throw a fit, a BF, whatever you want. Boxing is a business. It's so much of a business, we all hate it. It's been, Mayweather-Pacquiao, probably one of the top things or top reminders of why we hate boxing as a business. Just fucking fight already. It's been like years, 2008, 2009, this fight still hasn't happened. So I'm not saying I condone anything. I'm just merely making a statement, which is almost undeniable fact. Boxing is a business. And just like any business, you survive and thrive off of profit. So as far as the Broner, like I said in the first video, Broner versus Maidana, there's money in that fight, whether you like it or not. And it's funny to me that the fans are so fickle that I make the video, some people dislike it, some people leave comments, and you guys are so fickle, not all of you, but some of you guys are so fickle, like, oh, this is bullshit. How's Adrian Broner get an immediate rematch? Broner-Maidana never got immediate rematch against Khan. Fucking bullshit, man. Back to the business. Again, like it or not, boxing is a business. Broner-Maidana, unfortunately, doesn't have as much star power as other fighters. We've seen it time and time again. So in the Victor Ortiz fight, Victor Ortiz was the golden boy. He was the golden child. That was the one golden boy was grooming before he went off and started just going crazy and losing fights and quitting and stuff. That was the one golden boy was putting their stock in. They were like, this is the next dude. They brought Broner-Maidana in as just a challenger. That was supposed to be a showcase for Victor Ortiz, but he spoiled their plans. Broner-Maidana talks about this from his perspective on the All Access. So if you haven't seen Showtime's All Access, watch it. He talks about it. They brought me in to lose. That's what he says. That's a fact. That's, pretty much the game plan. Doesn't Stevie Wonder could see. So the point being, Broner-Maidana, whether Broner deserves it, fact of the matter, he doesn't deserve it. But he was smart enough to get a rematch clause as the champion. So it looks like we will see this fight. Or Maidana will have to vacate his belt if he doesn't do it. Again, I'm not saying Broner, I never once said Broner deserves an opportunity at the belt again. But again, if you're the champion and you have a rematch clause and you lose, you can exercise that rematch clause. I need to get Carcino or somebody to make a video explaining what the fuck a rematch clause is and how do you exercise it. It's no different than Danny Garcia versus Eric Morales part 2. Did I want to see that fight? No, I didn't want to see it. Majority of the boxing public, at least at the time that I talked about, didn't want to see it. Me, Eric Morales, one of my favorites growing up, future Hall of Famer. I just feel he's past his prime. He was looking flabby. And I don't think the public wanted to see Danny Garcia. I wanted to see him against some of the young lions they had at 140, not Eric Morales' 40-year-old ass. You know what I'm saying? But we seen the rematch. You know why? Rematch clause. It happens in the sport of boxing. And again, some of you guys are so fickle where you guys were just on my page in December after the Broner-Maidana fight saying this was fight of the year. This is a fight of the year. Fight of the year. Oh my gosh. It was so good to see Broner lose. Now you have the option to possibly see him lose again and possibly duplicate another fight of the year in 2014 as early as April. And some fans are mad. They're mad. What? This is bullshit. How does Broner get an immediate title shot? It's just stupid. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, which one is it? Is it fight of the year? I personally enjoyed the Maidana and Broner fight and that whole fight card, to be honest. So I don't mind seeing it. Does Broner deserve it? No, he doesn't. But if he has a rematch clause, that's contractual. There's not really any getting around. Again, I didn't want to see Danny Garcia versus Eric Morales part 2, especially since Morales had that diuretic in his system and couldn't make weight and had to test 8 times. But I still watched the fight. And it's part of business. Eric Morales was the champion at the time, defended it against Danny Garcia and lost. And then we had to see, based on a rematch clause, a rematch. It's no different. And I just don't understand the outrage and like people going crazy. Oh, this is bullshit, Broner. Like, what is the big deal? This happens all the time. Boxing is a business. This is not the first fucking instance where we've seen the boxing business, boxing bullshit, boxing politics prevail. And I think there's some far worse examples. They're talking about making Brian Vera versus Chavez Jr. part 2. Does Chavez Jr. deserve the rematch? Not really. I mean, he won the fight, but a lot of people thought he shouldn't have won. But again, he's the bigger star. We may see that fight. Did Canelo deserve the Mayweather fight? He had beat Austin Trout and who else? Old Shane Mosley, old Carlos Baldomir. But again, boxing is a business. People seen Canelo as a genuine threat. He was young. He's hungry. He was undefeated. They thought stylistically and based on his size, it could pose problems to Mayweather. And guess what? He's relevant and he has a huge following. So it made business sense to make the fight. So the fight was made. I mean, this happens all the time. And like I said, Paulie Malignaggi spoke out himself like, oh, I didn't get an immediate Broner rematch. But Paulie, much respect to him because I think he's a hell of a commentator. He's a great fighter and I like him. But he knows firsthand, he's been in the business long enough. He knows firsthand that boxing is a business and the politics. That's why he signed with Al Heyman, because he wanted those big money fights. He says he's a prize fighter and he wants to get those big money fights. And he crossed over and went to Al Heyman. He also said that Broner got as much press and publicity as he did pre-Maidana based on being a Heyman fighter. He said that. Another instance, since you want to talk about instances or boxing being a business, Keith Thurman called Paulie Malignaggi out when he had the belt. There was even a press conference where the two are yelling to each other from afar, and Keith Thurman's calling him out. Keith Thurman's young, hungry. We know he can punch. He looks to be improving. He was calling Paulie Malignaggi out. But guess what? Paulie Malignaggi was saying that a fight with Keith Thurman doesn't make sense. You got to wait in line. You got to build your brand. You got to bring dividends to the table to fight me. So the fight never happened. Paulie lost his belt. That's one example of how boxing as a business prevails. Keith Thurman at the time wasn't a big enough brand to fight Paulie Malignaggi for the belt, and he didn't get the fight. Another person, Diego Chavez. Diego Chavez, who gave Keith Thurman a hell of a fight, and I'm anxious to see his next fight because I was impressed with him. Hadn't seen much of him, but he earned my respect in the Keith Thurman fight. Diego Chavez, another person, at welterweight, worked his way up. He was the mandatory challenger for Paulie Malignaggi. But guess what? Paulie Malignaggi elects to fight Adrian Broner, the bigger payday, the bigger money fight, the fight with more publicity. If you had a headlining event that said Showtime, Barclays, Adrian Broner versus Paulie Malignaggi, or Paulie Malignaggi versus Diego Chavez, what the fuck do you think is going to sell more? Not that Diego Chavez might have even had a better fight with Paulie Malignaggi than Adrian Broner. Who knows? Because at least Diego Chavez can crack. He showed he has a chin, and he was established at welterweight. So that might have even been a better fight than Broner's split decision win over Paulie Malignaggi. But again, boxing as a business, boxing as politics. So as far as Paulie Malignaggi making comments, he should know firsthand the nature of the beast and the nature of the business. But in my video, I never once said that Broner deserves a rematch. But if he was smart enough to get a rematch clause, a lot of people said it was fight of the year. He thinks he can come with a different game plan. So be it. I'm down to see the rematch. I don't think he's earned it, and I think Maidana should get whatever he's asking for in terms of pay, because Maidana's been taking on the tasks that others don't want. And personally, I'll watch it from a fan standpoint, but I think it's a dumb fight for Broner, because if Broner fights Maidana and it's deja vu and he gets his ass beat all over again, his career is in peril. So I think it's dumb. I think he should really test the waters at 140, or maybe have a lesser fight, you know what I mean? Fight a Humberto Soto or whoever is available in that category, like a Jesse Vargas or somebody, maybe a Josecito Lopez, who doesn't just have destructive power, because it might be the end of the line if Broner fights Maidana again and it's the same exact verdict. So I think it's a dumb fight if I was managing Broner or Broner's handler. So again, back to my initial video, some of you guys are lunatics and you're going to feel whatever you feel, and you have selective hearing. I'm down to see the rematch. Yes. Does Broner deserve it based on his performance in the first fight? No, by no means. It wasn't a close fight. But again, if he was smart enough to, as the champion, request that a rematch clause was written into the contract, it's nothing you could really do. But I don't understand why people are acting so surprised that boxing, being a business, takes the front seat. And it's not a bad fight. It's not a bad fight. We were entertained by the first one. What's the big deal? Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.